Welcome to this session, the first of the year. So we are 8th of January. So Happy New Year, everybody. I hope if you have a French colleague, you have asked Galette des Rois, because it's a tradition. So I will just introduce you this session with Mirela about the basics of cost estimation. So I will just share my screen so you can see. If you see correctly my screen. So as I told you, we will start with our webinar about basics of cost estimation. So the agenda of today, I will briefly introduce you the local group Darmstadt and the PMI Germany chapter. I will present you the golden rules and introduce you Mirela. Then she will have the floor to present her very interesting subject. I think it's a bit more technical than usual, but we wanted to explore as well other subjects. And at the end, I will give you the PDU code and inform you about the next events. About the guidelines, so this session is recorded, so you can mute yourself and turn off your camera if you don't want to appear. Please use your full name so we can give you the PDU. And the chat is open, so you can use it to share your LinkedIn profile, to connect with other people. And we are welcome to answer your questions, so you can already write it during the presentation. I think Mirela will answer it at the end. So do not hesitate to write your question down and we will answer it at the end. And as well as a precision, we do not accept personal recording or AI, so please do not use it. But we will make this video available at the end, so you can have a look afterwards. And just to give you an overview, the PMI Germany's chapter, so you know that the Project Management Institute has a different chapter. And in Germany, we have one unified chapter since 2021. We have 6 regions, which includes 25 local groups. So our local groups is located in Darmstadt. It's basically between Heidelberg and Frankfurt, and we have basically a lot of local group. We have some roundtable, and we have in Germany around 11,000 members of the PMI, and as well 150 volunteers who are supporting the chapter. Our local group Darmstadt, we are 6 people from 5 countries, and we are an English speaking community because we are very international, and we try to organize for you at least 2 free online events per month. As per today, we had 2,500 people attending our webinars, and as well, which is really important for us, we organize once a month a roundtable. Normally it's an open floor about with your own question, but we are keen to listen your feedback to find what is interesting for you. And we have as well a LinkedIn group. We have currently more than 400 members, so please do not hesitate to subscribe, and we will keep you posted with all our next events. So today I will introduce you Mirela Tsagkari. So she's from Greece originally, but she lived a bit in France, and as well now she's located next to Mainz. She's a chairwoman of the AACE International DACH section, and she's a certified professional in cost estimation. So she will present you a bit more the AACE. the International Association for Advanced Cost Estimation. She's currently a cost estimation and benchmarking specialist for Boehringer Ingelheim, so in pharmaceutical industry, and she has a PhD in chemical engineering from the University of Athens. So she brought with her a decade of experience in cost estimation in pharmaceutical, chemical, and biorefineries. So we thought it would be really interesting for you to introduce you this very interesting subject of cost estimation. So without more, I would say, suspense, I will give the floor to Mirela.
Okay, thanks, Adrien. Let me give me a few seconds to share my screen. Partager. So, is everything okay? Can you see my screen okay? Suppose, yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Great. So, Happy New Year from me as well. So, Frohes Neues Jahr, Bonne année, bonne santé, Kalifronia. So, in many languages, because we're quite an international group. So, hello, I'm Mirela. So, thank you for joining today's webinar, which is I'm going to talk about cost estimation in the process industries. But first of all, let me say a few words about me on top of what Adrien said about me. So I come from Greece, yes, I come from Athens. I have a background in chemical engineering, and so I did my studies in Athens, in Greece, before moving to Lyon in France. This is this is where the French comes from, to pursue my PhD in process systems engineering and cost estimation of biorefineries at early R&D phase. I carried out my PhD in this very interesting, a very complex bio-based plants in cost estimation in Arkema, which is a specialty chemical company in Lyon. And it was through my PhD that I came across the AACE, which is the Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineering and the profession of cost estimation. So once I finished my PhD, I decided to pursue this career, and I joined Technip Energies in Lyon, which is an EPCM contractor for oil and gas and in the process industries, where I worked in cost estimation of different bulk chemical projects in different design phases around the world, in China, Oman, and other countries. And then at some point, I joined another EPCM contractor for the process industries in Lyon again, which is called AACE, where the focus was more on specialty chemicals plants, gigafactories, and also in the end, a very, very big, the first of a kind biojet fuel biorefinery plant. So yeah, so basically in cost estimation. In 2023, I decided to switch from the EPCM, from the contractor's perspective, and join an owner company, and then move from chemicals to pharma. So yes, since April 2023, I am with Boehringer Ingelheim, so an owner company in pharmaceuticals. And also in 2023, I had the opportunity and the honor to create, along with other volunteers, the DACH section of the AEC, for which I'm going to talk to you about it at the end of the presentation. So the purpose of the presentation today, we're going to talk about the basics of cost estimation. We're not going to get into so much details, but I'm going to talk about what is cost estimation, what are the cost estimation classes, what is accuracy, what is contingency, what is benchmarking, and who is a cost estimator, right? So with a view to manage the cost throughout the life cycle of a project, the AAC has come up with a total cost management framework. The total cost management model is basically a systematic approach for the effective application of professional and technical expertise to plan and control resources, costs, risks, and the profitability of a project. This is accomplished through the application of cost engineering and proven technical cost management techniques in support of the project management process, right? The TCM, the Total Cost Management Model, is a process map that supports the cost management, a continuous improvement. It is not a set of fixed rules or laws of cost engineering, but rather it's a flexible model that can be used and adapted according to a project needs or an organization needs. For example, some steps of the TCM can be skipped according to some project specifics. The TCM, as established by the AACE, relies heavily on the PDCA cycle, so the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle model, which is it's a widely accepted management process. So when we're talking about the PDCA cycle, we're talking about a plan. So basically planning the project activities, and then the do part, so executing the activities according to the plan. The check part, which is it's basically the measurement of the project performance, and then act, which is basically the undertaking of corrective actions in order to correct any deviations of the activities against the planned activities. Within this TCM framework, then, we have the project control process. So the project control process.
Sagt, okay, das Problem ist gerade da und ich finde eine Lösung.
Please
Genau.
mute
Ihr habt das
yourself.
sehr, sehr gut erklärt.
Maybe you can mute your microphones, because I think I'm hearing somebody else talking over. It's quite confusing. So thanks. I think now it's okay. Yeah. So so within the TCM framework, we identify, among other processes, the project control process, right? So a project starts with the definition of a scope and the development of an execution strategy. And then, based on the work breakdown structure, a cost, a schedule, and a resource planning are developed, which define the baseline upon which the project is going to be measured. Then we have the risk management process that basically ensures that there is enough budget available to cover any uncertainties and risks that might arise. Then we have the forecasting and activities or procurement planning that makes sure that procurement is going to perform activities that are going to ensure that enough resources are available for the project. So part of this, the focus of today's presentation is going to be only on one part of the project controls, which is the cost estimating and the budgeting process. Cost estimation and budgeting. So what is cost estimation? Cost estimating is the process used to quantify, cost, and price the resources required by the project scope and as defined by the project scope. Once the cost estimate is produced, then budgeting follows, and budgeting is a separate project for the allocation process, for the allocation of the estimated costs.
Also ohne ein konkretes Beispiel zu nennen. Auch die anderen gerne.
I think again, somebody has their mic open. Okay, no, it's fine. So budgeting is the allocation of estimated costs into cost accounts against which cost performance will be measured. The cost estimation is applied at the end of each planning or design phase to estimate the project scope as it is defined and quantified at a certain deadline, what we call the cutoff date. Yeah. I'm going to get into the more details about that in a second, but this is just a summary of what cost estimation and budgeting are. So obviously, as the level of project maturity increases, the estimating methods that an estimator employs become more detailed, and the accuracy range of an estimate become narrower. the illustration below is what we call the cone of uncertainty, and it is very known among the cost engineering community. It basically shows that the more we have the maturity, it shows exactly that the more mature a project becomes, the narrower is the accuracy ranges. So for example, when we start and the definition of the project is between 0 or 5%, we see that we have a wide accuracy range between -50 and 100%. The more we advance towards completion of the engineering deliverables, then the accuracy ranges become narrower. A few words about what we mean about costs. In cost estimation, we have two types of costs, the capital cost and the operating costs. So the capital costs, one part of them refers to the total plant costs, which are related to the construction project itself. Within the plant cost, we have the direct costs, which are related to the physical part of the plant. So in the process industries, this includes the cost of the purchase equipment, in the installation of the equipment, and also the bulk activities, which are basically the civil works, steel structure, piping, electrical, instrumentation controls, fire protection, HVAC if any building is involved, and miscellaneous parts such as painting, insulation, um, and spare parts. The direct costs include material and labor related to these activities. And then we have the indirect part of the total plant costs, which are related to supervision and the construction site itself. So for one part, we have the cost of the studies of the design phase or the engineering and construction management. And from the other side, we have the construction costs, the construction site costs. So basically, the camp facilities, any construction equipment, and any labor related to that, as for example, site engineering, field engineering, as vendors, assistants, on sites, cleaning activities are all included in indirect costs. Now the terminology direct and indirect costs might vary between organizations and industries. For example, in pharmaceuticals, we use the words hard costs and soft costs, or you can you can meet the term physical costs to describe direct costs. But the most important thing is not the terminology itself, it's what's included in there. And that should not be forgotten. So the sum of direct and indirect costs gives us the base estimate. So the base estimate is always produced in terms in a unit in the currency price of today. So for example, if I was estimating a project today, it would be in euros, January 2025, first quarter 2025. So obviously, because the purchasing activities will take some time, will take place sometime in the future, escalation has to be included in the total plant cost in order to take into account the time value of money. So if purchase activities of some work packages were going to take in place in 2 years' time, we have to take into account future inflation, or what we call escalation. Also, part of the total plant cost is risk contingency, for which I'm going to talk about later in the presentation. Which account for it's the budget for any risks that might occur, any uncertainties related to the plant, to the project. But costs are not only that. The total capital requirements are not only the total plant cost, but also are related to the startup cost of the plant. Any cost for initial catalysts and chemicals can be a very significant amount, especially for chemical reactions that include sometimes have noble catalysts that have to be installed. Land purchased, if any, financing fees to finance the project, legal fees, custom duties for purchase of equipment abroad, exchange rates fees if a work package is purchased in a foreign currency, royalties in case a technology is licensed from a foreign company. Nevertheless, have to keep in mind that these are all indication of capital requirements, and variation might apply between different owner organizations. So basically, what is capital and what is not capital is given by the finance department of every owner organization, right? And of course, this is a capex, what we call capex or capital investment. We have On the other hand, the operating costs, which include the cost of raw materials minus any byproducts, utilities and chemicals, direct operating labor, maintenance, supervision, and overheads, that an estimator might be called to estimate with different estimation methods. And the reason is why is because sometimes cost estimators are called to perform technical economic evaluations in order to measure the profitability of a given project. So it makes sense for in cost estimation to do this type of activities. Why? Because if a cost estimation is responsible to, for example, to calculate the net present value of a project or the internal rate of return, if they find out that the project is unprofitable, they might make changes into the cost estimation scenario and run a sensibility analysis and give another scenario that might be profitable, right? And not to run again the whole design phase from the start.
Deviate.
Sorry, was there a question? No. Okay. So a few words then about the cost estimation process itself. So this figure represents the major steps in estimation execution, as well as the interactions with project management, project controls, and the engineering deliverables. The left part is basically refers to the request for proposal, is the request for proposal phase, and it's the first estimating activity. So during the request for bid, an owner organization discusses with a contractor, or even an estimate requester, and they have to make an agreement on the estimate requirements. So what type of estimation is needed, what is the degree of quality needed, what is the nomenclature, the terminology that should be used. As I said, different organizations use different terminologies in order to make an agreement for a contractor to move on with a project. And this has to be agreed in advance. On the right side, we see the project execution in itself. So the estimation process, as I said, has to be performed at every design, towards the end of every design phase of any project, in order to produce the total planned costs that is going to decide on project continuity. Nevertheless, this is done by a systematic method, which is what is shown on this illustration. So in any given design phase, after a certain time, the first activity to be performed in estimation is the estimate planning. Yes. So basically, the estimate plan is a planning document, as its name reveals, that defines the work packages already defined by the team, and it defines the scope, the estimation strategy as it is defined in the project execution plan, right? The project planning is an input also to the estimate plan. Why? Because the project planning is going to give the deadlines for the cutoff date. When is the cutoff date? And also the other deadlines for estimation. When the first issue for estimating is going to be delivered, or for the different disciplines, when the first review is going to take place, and then when the final estimate has to be delivered. You see that the technical deliverables or the engineering deliverables are also an input to the estimating plan, because the degree of maturity of the the technical deliverables is going to show how the estimation is going to take place and who is going to perform the different activities. The CBS, or the cost breakdown structure, has to be shown in the estimate plan in order to have an agreement between the contractor or the owner, or between the estimator and the project manager of the project. So once the cutoff date comes, then the actual estimating takes place. The first activity to take place is the taking off, or the scope quantification. What we mean with scope quantification is, simply put, basically the engineering deliverables, the drawings, or any engineering lists are taken, and quantities for the project are put it down into paper. So, for example, for civil works, if you have a drawing, a civil engineering drawing, quantities have to be taken off out of this drawing. For equipment, the equipment list has to be established by the process engineer with process parameters, which are going to allow to the estimator to estimate, to cost the equipment, the piece of equipment, based on budget quotes, on historical data, on firm quotes, etc., right? For the different types of disciplines in estimation, we have different types of methods. I'm going to talk about it later, and according to the different levels of detail. Then once the estimate comes together for the different disciplines, so the direct and the indirect costs, for the indirect costs, parentheses, we really need the schedule durations and the resource quantities that are going to allow us to quantify the amount of people needed and the amount of time needed, and cost this time and this labor, in order to come up with a base estimate. So once the base estimate is there, the lead estimator is responsible to introduce the contingency, which should come from a risk analysis, and include it in the total planned costs. Then once the total planned costs are come together, the estimator is responsible to present the total planned cost to the project manager in order to make sure that the TPC, the cost is aligned with the project objectives. Then and only then a benchmarking, so the comparison of the current TPC with historical project costs, takes place before the estimate is presented to the upper management, which it's gonna decide on project financing and project continuity, right? Of course, that the cost estimator might, another activity is value engineering and risk management. Value engineering is the activity that basically makes sure that the project scope, the project design includes all what is necessary, functionally necessary for the project, and excludes the nice to have, in order to optimize the project costs. Yeah. So a little bit about cost estimate classification. So we all know that there are different design phases within a construction project execution. So starting from the design phase and then more the execution phase. The design phase it has different names around the world in different organizations. We might call it front-end loading process. So the front-end loading process is basically the FEL process, is a design phase, which is broken down in different phases, FEL 1, FEL 2, FEL 3, or if you will, conceptual phase, feasibility phase, and definition phase. And then we have the engineering, procurement, and construction phase, which includes the detailed design, procurement, construction, and then the operation phase of a construction project. Estimation is mostly present and necessary during the front-end loading process, right? Because as we said before, at the end of each design phase, towards the end, there is the estimation process that takes place in order to produce an estimation of the total costs, of the total project costs that are going to allow us to take a decision at the end of each phase, at the end of each gate, in order to decide on project continuity. So the AAC, in order to simplify and to systematize this cost estimation process, has identified 5 classes of cost estimates. So starting from class 5 to class 1. Class 5 corresponding to the most preliminary phase, so conceptual phase, FEL 1, and class 1 corresponding to some cost evaluations and controlling during the construction phase. So the class 5 and the cost estimate classes refer to the level of project definition, right? So for class 5, we have the more preliminary early stages of project definition, with a project definition between 0% and 2%. And the class 1, we're almost close to project completion. So the engineering deliverables are almost fully defined. But the estimate classes basically refer to the types of estimating methodologies that we use to estimate a project. So for a class 5 estimate or an order of magnitude estimate, an estimator would use cost capacity curves factors and parametric models to estimate the total plant costs based on very minimal information. In the process industries, the key deliverable that we have at our disposal is the block flow diagram, right? The block flow diagram that shows the basic unit operations in the plant. As the project moves to the next phase, we have the class 4 and a class 4 estimate that relies on the process flow diagram that hopefully is available. And then the estimation relies on factorial estimating and some semi-detailed material takeoffs. And then we have the class 3 estimates with the unit cost line items based on the piping and instrumentation diagrams and more detailed, obviously, drawings for the other disciplines. And then the class 2 is almost the last estimate that we have based on complete specifications and data sheets for equipment and any other bulk material necessary with a very detailed material takeoff, which is mostly relies on bids from construction companies and subcontractors. Class 1 is not so much of an estimate, but it can help into supporting the progress measurement of the construction activities and also support any claims or contractual disputes that might arise. You see here that there is a superposition of the classes between the front-end loading phases or the different phases. So we can have a mix of class 5 and class 4 methods between the FEL 1 and the FEL 2, or class 3 and class 2 cost estimation methods between the FEL 3 and the detailed design. And the reason is because no project is ideal, no project is perfect. So we might have a mix of different classes between cost estimation methods between the different phases. Now, this table, which some of you might have seen, it is available on the internet, also mentions some accuracy ranges. I thought it was important to talk about that specifically and give some clarifications for if anyone has any questions on that. So basically, we see that the most common one is the process industries RP recommended practice that gives a range of accuracies next to the estimate classes and the maturity level of project definition. So I would like to clarify that the estimate classes are only related to the maturity level of the project definition. The estimate classes are not related to the estimate accuracy ranges as given into this table. The accuracy ranges are given in order to give an indication of what range of ranges we can find in the process industries, right? So we cannot say that at the end of FEL 1, I would have this accuracy range like plus or minus 50%, or at the end of FEL 2 plus or minus 30%, because these cannot be predetermined. The reason why is because no project, we cannot predict the outcome of a project performance before the project phase is completed, right? This is a very, very important information to keep in mind. What we can see, nevertheless, from this table is what we saw in the cone of uncertainty just 2 slides before, is that the estimate accuracy tends to improve as project definition improves. So as we move from class 5 to class 4 and class 3, we have more information on the engineering deliverables become more mature, and hence the accuracy ranges become narrower, right? They cannot become wider. It means that we're doing something very, very wrong. Also, in the AEC, we find some indications of accuracy ranges, not only for the process industries, which they mean the chemical industries, but also pharmaceutical industries and the building construction industries. I put them side to side in order to see that the accuracy ranges in pharmaceutical industries are quite wider for a class 5 estimate compared to the process industries, to the chemical industries. The reason, and then as we go to class 1, you see that even the ranges are quite wider. The reason is that it's basically industry specific. In the pharma industries, pharmaceuticals, we have a lot of user requirement specifications, whereas in the process industries, we don't have URSs coming at the end of a phase requiring change to the design, and then hence more uncertainty in the estimate. And then we see that the accuracy ranges for the building and general construction industries, so for example, offices, are much narrower compared to the process industry, the chemical industry. The reason is because the complexity of these industries does not rely on the process. We don't have unit operations or um, or reactions or unit operations in being involved. So we don't rely on R&D results or the equipment that has to be installed and make the process run and to produce a certain type of product. So you see the accuracy ranges are quite narrow. And I thought it was quite interesting for me to show you that. Also, the AACE has recommended practices that refer to other industries as well, process industries mostly, mining and mineral, hydropower industries, petroleum exploration production, and lately we have included power transmission line infrastructure industries and the pipeline transportation infrastructure industries as an indication of specific cost estimation and cost engineering activities for these specific sectors. So I talked about risk contingency. So the as I said, the cost estimate is an expected outcome with a probability of occurrence. So the cost estimate is not just a point estimate, is an expected outcome, which means that we have there's a lot of uncertainty around the cost estimate, the base estimate, which means that every cost estimate, regardless of the cost estimation method used or regardless of the design phase, is subject to a residual risk, which means that the base estimate in itself is not adequate from a funding or a budgeting standpoint because it has a small probability of underrun or it has a high probability of overrun, which means that if we move forward with funding of a project at the base estimate, then we have a high risk of overrunning our budget, right? Therefore, contingency is used to finance these uncertainties. And finances basically what we call the systemic and project-specific risks, and has to be considered in the project budget. When I'm talking about systemic risks, I'm talking about risks that are commonly met in a specific industry and for a specific type of projects. For example, in the process industries, for a certain type of specialty chemicals plant, we have very common systemic risks. And also, project-specific risks are those that are related to the project itself. So, for example, if a project is going to be built in an area with known common adverse weather conditions or adverse soil conditions, these risks and uncertainties can be covered by risk contingency. So, contingency in general covers inadequacies in complete project scope definition. Of course, at the early design phases, we cannot know it all. A lot of unknowns are there and can be covered by contingency. It also covers inadequacies in estimating methods. As I showed you, at the early design phases, we use very conceptual estimation methods that are not very, that rely on very conceptual engineering details, engineering information. So contingency covers this inadequacy as well. It covers also inadequacy in data and cost data for cost and schedule. But most importantly, it covers project risk exposure related to the degree of innovation. For example, if it's the first time that we build such a plant, this inexperience we have is covered by contingency, right? If the project includes a new technology, new and unproven technology, contingency can cover the fact that we do not know how to make the plant run. Or if it includes complexity such as very, very corrosive materials for which we don't have prior experience, contingency can cover these uncertainties. Nevertheless, the contingency does not cover scope changes not included in project scope definition. For example, if the project scope definition, the PEP, had defined the design of a plant for 100,000 euros of product per year. And then at the middle of the design phase, we decide to move on to increase the capacity to 500,000 tons per year. Then contingency cannot cover this change. Contingency does not also cover force majeure events such as a tsunami, a pandemic, a war, or a prolonged labor strike. Then coming back to the topic of expected cost estimate accuracy. As I said, so accuracy is not predetermined by any table and should not be a target. The accuracy cannot be a target, although in many organizations accuracy is expected at a certain range. Nevertheless, accuracy is the outcome of all of project execution, and is the outcome of the project. It's related to project maturity. But before explaining what is accuracy and how is estimated, let me give a brief definition. So accuracy, the estimate accuracy, is the degree of variation of the cost estimate from the final actual cost of the completed project, right? So accuracy is not predetermined, but is rather based on a probabilistic assessment of uncertainties and risks that may have an impact on the base estimate, right? Accuracy is thus estimated via a quantitative risk analysis study that most often results in a probability distribution function, such as the one shown on this illustration, right? As I said in the beginning, a cost estimate is not just a point estimate, but it's a range of probable cost outcomes. So this probability cumulative distribution function shows us all the possible cost outcomes of a given project scope, which has been quantified and has been costed. So we see here that this distribution function is limited to the ends to a 10% probability until the 90% probability. The reason is because a probability of 100% does not make sense. And obviously a probability of 0% would not make so much sense at all. So we can see that between 90% probability and a 10% probability, or what we call an 80% confidence interval, the estimate range is between 1.4 million euros and 2.5 million euros, right? So with a 80% confidence, we can say that our total plant cost will gonna be between 1.4 million and 2.5 million. So now, based on this graph, which is the result of this quantitative risk analysis, most often with a Monte Carlo simulation, we can take a decision on contingency, right? So we see that our base estimate, which is produced from the cost estimation process, our base estimate is 1.8 million. But we see on the axis, on the y-axis on the left, that it gives us a probability of 25%, which means that we have a certainty of 25% that our costs, our total plant cost, the final one, won't exceed 1.8 million euros. So 25% is very, very low, right? We wish to fund our project at 50% probability. So basically to have a certainty of 50% that our project won't exceed X amount. So basically the difference between the P50 and the probability of the base estimate is the contingency. If we were more risk averse and we wanted to fund our project at P70, then the contingency would be the difference between the P70 and the probability of the base estimate, the probability level of the base estimate. Now, this is contingency. What is accuracy? The accuracy, based on this graph, right, can be calculated around the P50 value, which is the P50 is the value upon which we want to budget our project, right? So the 1.9 million. So we see that the accuracy is the delta between the P50 and the P10. So it's minus 26% on the low side, and it is the variation between the P90 and the P50, so plus 32% on the high side. So the accuracy is reported around the P50, and it is for this specific example, minus 26 and 32%, plus 32% around the P50 estimate value. The accuracy could also be reported around the base estimates, as long, and this could also have, if we had decided not to include any contingency into our project, which have been wrong, the accuracy could also have been reported around the base estimate. Or if we had decided, as I said before, to fund our project at P70, the accuracy can be reported around the P70. So the accuracy is basically has to be reported around a specific value, right? Then, a very important point, the estimate accuracy has nothing to do with contingency. There is this notion that the more contingency we put into our estimate, the more accurate it's going to become. No, again, the estimate accuracy is related to the maturity of the project deliverables. It has nothing to do with contingency. Contingency, again, as I explained, is related to how risk averse or risk takers a company, an owner company is in order to move on with a project. And then actually the graph, this is what it reveals, because regardless of where you decide to fund your project, P50, P70, or even put your very risk taker, and you don't want to put any contingency at all, the P10 and the P90 are fixed, right? So in absolute terms, the accuracy does not change. So yeah, a very important thing to keep in mind, accuracy, contingency cannot affect accuracy at all. Okay, then I'm going to move on to benchmarking. Benchmarking, I'm going to talk about it because it's a big, it's a hot topic in cost engineering the last years. So first of all, with definitions, what is benchmarking? Benchmarking is a measurement and analysis process that compares project measures to selected basis of comparison with a goal to improve project performance. Benchmarking metrics can be estimated versus actual costs, schedule durations, quantities, resource quantities, or physical quantities, etc., etc. So benchmarking is requested and developed more and more within owner organizations. We see that benchmarking is requested even in industries that are not so capital intensive. The purpose, obviously, of benchmarking is to take data-driven investment decisions, accelerate project execution, and save on capital. A robust benchmarking framework relies on systematic project controls, obviously, on integrated historical cost management, which relies on project controls, and of course, enterprise-wide digital solutions. Benchmarking has to be integrated with whatever systems are available within any company, any organization, to organize their assets, costs, and characteristics. Benchmarking is not cost estimation. Benchmarking can be used to help in estimate review or validation from a contractor organization, but should never ever be used for estimating. Although the metrics might seem quite similar, they should never be used for estimating. The simple reason is because if one uses a benchmarking metric from a database to estimate a new project, then any errors or problems, anything gone wrong with a past project might be used to estimate a new project, and then may do harm to the project, may basically overestimate a project, right? So estimating is related to benchmarking, but it's not the same thing. So benchmarking relies heavily on historical project databases and not on historical estimation databases, which are two different things. So data collection on completed project plans are necessary. A very robust database architecture is mandatory. Data analysis is also involved in order to produce project metrics and produce a benchmarking report that will be distributed to the management. You see, the benchmarking relies on this project control cycle. So basically the planning methods and tools. So the project controls, the scope of development, the cost estimation, scheduling, resources, procurement, risk management, in order to produce a cost control baseline, and then measure the physical progress and the performance of the plant, and then at the end, at the project completion, collect the actual project data, which are going to be introduced in the historical project database and gonna be the basis for the metrics used in benchmarking and validation. So one last slide before talking about the AACE. I think because it's a project management community, I think the question is gonna come maybe in your mind, why do you need a special person to do all this type of work? Because in project management, a lot of project managers do cost estimation and do benchmarking and also take up all these activities. From my point of view, a cost estimation team or a cost estimator is necessary in a project for a project that is above a total capital cost threshold and also has a complexity, a quite complex work breakdown structure. So yes, for very simple projects with minimal work breakdown structures or with a very small capex, then a very low capex, then the presence of a cost estimator is not necessary. This task can be undertaken by a project manager or a project controls manager. But nevertheless, the more the complexity of a process plant and the higher the capex, then you need a dedicated person to undertake these activities, especially. And then the degree of implication of you can have a lead cost estimator and then dedicated cost estimators for different disciplines. For example, in the case of mega projects, we're talking about billions of euros. In a smaller chemical plants, but with a high degree of complexity, like for example, a lot of work packages, a lot of loose equipment, a lot of different, a very complex work breakdown structure, you might have the engineering leads helping in quantifying some of the disciplines, and then one estimator working on the overall cost estimation on the production of the cost estimate. So yeah, it depends. So you don't always need a cost estimator, but when you have in the process industries, it's better to have one. Nevertheless, cost estimators can be found in owner organization, in engineering, EPCM contractors, or in construction companies. Their roles and responsibilities are more or less the same, but they have some differences. So an estimator working in an owner organization is responsible in the economic evaluation of a project or a portfolio of projects. They're also responsible for the baselining the estimate and budgeting, and also reviewing and validating a contractor's estimate. They're also responsible to estimate the owner's items, because the contractor does not always estimate the totality of a project. And then they are more involved into conceptual estimating or FEL1 estimates, unless a cost estimation team is available to take up FEL2s and FEL3 estimates. They also involved in risk management, and as I said before, the benchmarking, the compiling, development of historical project databases. We're also involved in value engineering if needed, and also to reconcile the estimate and explain the deviations to the upper management. In EPCM, in engineering companies, a cost estimator does more or less the same, but they're only responsible for one part of the plant. Just made one plant of the plant. They're also involved into pricing the cost estimate for turnkey solutions, and also we are involved in pricing the tender, in pricing the estimate. We're involved in tendering as well. Obviously, in EPCM, in engineering companies, a cost estimator is involved in the FEL1, FEL2, FEL3 estimates, and they are responsible in building estimation databases, not so much project databases, but estimation databases for the different disciplines. And then, of course, value engineering and estimate reconciliation. In construction, an estimator in a construction company are more focused on one construction activity, and they're responsible to review and compile subcontractor bids. And of course, they are involved in databases, estimation databases, and then they are involved in the pricing and tendering process. That's the other responsibilities. In terms of skill and background and knowledge, who has a good basics what skills should a cost estimator have? From my point of view, because cost estimation is the interface between engineering and finance and project controls, a cost estimator should have an engineering background, either in chemical to understand the unit operation and the process systems, or civil engineering, industrial engineering, or mechanical engineering, and then have a lot of understanding on the cost estimating terminology, on different estimation methodologies according to the class cost estimates, estimation methodologies to estimate quantities, estimate costs, have knowledge in risk evaluation and contingency, and also know how to set up databases that can be reproducible and extendable throughout the life cycle of an asset, of a project, or of a company. We are also, a cost estimator is also involved in bidding and budgeting, so a good understanding of cash flow, a good understanding of contracts and claims is essential. For contracts especially, a good understanding of contracts is essential in order to build an estimate according to what is agreed in the contract, right? So also a very important set of skills is statistics and probabilities, because regression analysis is needed in order to produce estimation models, and also probabilities, as I showed you before. In order to run this probabilistic analysis, a good understanding of that is also essential, and also an understanding of techno-economic analysis. But most importantly, the profession
She seems to be frozen.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was me.
Yeah.
Maybe we wait 1 minute.
Okay.
So I think she had a connection issue, so please wait 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
no worries.
Okay, let me know if you can see my screen again.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we can.
great. Sorry about that. This is my internet connection. So yeah, I was basically in the soft skills, right? Yeah, the cost estimation. Adrian, can you tell me what was the last sentence you heard from me?
I forgot. You were told. Please go ahead. I think we just missed 2 minutes.
Okay. So as I was saying, knowledge of statistics, I will start with the statistics. A cost estimator should be savvy with statistics in order to perform regression models and do parametric analysis, and also have a good sense of probabilities in order to, as I showed you before, for the accuracy determination, and also be savvy with techno-economic analysis. But most importantly, as I said, so cost estimation, we work under pressure. Why? Because we're not involved since the start of the project, but we're involved only at towards the end, after the cutoff date. So we have to very quickly understand the project, come in contact with the project manager and also all the members of the project team, understand the project, quantify the project, cost the project, and also understand the contract. So communication is key, right? And also take a lot of quick decisions and a lot of quick understanding of what is needed, but also communicate with empathy with the other project team members, because by always respecting the fact that a good ambiance in the team is necessary for a good project outcome. And also by working under very important to know is that although a project might be delayed, so the cutoff dates might be delayed, or the delivery of engineering deliverables might be delayed, the date where you have to deliver the cost estimate is not easily moved. So you have to produce an estimate because the deadline is never extended. And also you have to have good presentation skills in order to convince the management on the validity or the soundness of the cost estimate. So our work is quite preposterous, but makes it quite interesting. It's between engineering and finance. Very important. The cost estimation, the cost estimator has to be approved, has to approve the cost estimate along with the project management and management before any TPC is approved to any funding bodies for further financing. So quite important discipline. That was the end of my presentation on the cost estimation part. You saw that I used a lot of references on my slides from the AACE International. So a few words about the organization. It's an association for the advancement of cost engineering. It was created during the 70s or 60s, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States, and the Authority of Total Cost Management. We count almost 1,000 members in 100 countries around the world, and we are really focused on project controls and cost management. We are a team we are a volunteering organization, so with members that allow the exchange of information. We're global as well. We're divided into regions. We in Europe and Africa, we are region 9. All of these reference documents are available from the AACE website. So the total cost management framework and also the recommended practices which upon the TCM expands, and any professional guidance documents or webinars are available on the website to all of its members 24/7. We have a lot of network activities, but also AACE offers a lot of certification programs. So for example, me, I'm certified by AACE as an estimating professional. We have the certification for cost controlling, earned value management professionals, scheduling as well, or the risk management professionals. And we have the memberships. If somebody wants to become a member of the AACE, is either individual or organizational via company. So company, an organizational membership could provide company-wide access to the AACE material and community. And also we have public membership for universities or governmental bodies. So as I said at the beginning, I'm the chairwoman. I'm very honored to be the chairwoman for the DACH section for the region covering Deutschland, Austria, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We founded the section in October 2023. Currently, we have 70 subscribed members, but our LinkedIn, we have also our LinkedIn page. We are currently 290 members. Feel free to join it. We also have our own web page, have our own email as well. So you see, we are a team of people. I'm the chairwoman, but I'm not alone. I am accompanied by Ahmed, who is not here today. I saw Duncan in the group. He's here today. August in Austria, and our 2 newly joined members in the volunteering team, which is Louis, also a certified estimating professional, and Christian, that are also based in Germany. They are newly, so I don't have their pictures, but we are 6 people in total in the volunteering team, and we are open to exchange with other people as well. So feel free to contact me or contact us. What we do is we do also webinars, and also we wanted to join the webinars as this one with a PMI with other organizations. We're not competing, we're complementary. We want to exchange ideas. We do networking events in person as well. We want to develop training and certification centers for these certification programs from the AACE in the region. We want to have also an academic outreach to reach out to younger people, students, to make them aware of the project controls, the cost engineering disciplines. And also the last one, a cause dear to my heart, is to promote women in project controls. I'm also trying to promote that in Region 9 for Europe. I'm in contact with lovely ladies in Canada and the United States. We're a very big minority in project control, still women. So we're trying to work on that as well. So thank you so much for your attention, and open to questions. You can reach out to me on this is my email address, and I'm open for questions. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mirela. I think it was really interesting. We wanted to offer you this a bit more technical webinar because we thought it's important as well in the toolbox of a project manager to be able to work with a cost estimator or project control, or for, as Mirela explained, for smaller projects to have these skills of cost estimation. And I was really pleased when Mirela reached out because actually she joined one of our roundtable in Darmstadt, and that's how come up this idea of combine, I would say, webinar. So thank you very much, Mirela.
You're welcome. So feel free to ask any questions. Yeah.
Yeah, in the meantime, while you are maybe, I think as the subject is a bit technical, I think people may need to write a bit their question. In the meantime, I shared with you the Mentimeter. I will just display it so you can answer our survey. I will share the screen so you can answer our survey. I will reduce because otherwise I cannot see if somebody asks a question. Actually, if nobody has a question, so I had already one, Mirela, maybe you can answer to me. I was wondering actually when you were speaking about that the cost estimator need to provide to management at the start of the project a cost estimation. I was wondering if in your mind a cost estimator need to be, I would say, impartial, so just give the factual number, or already guide the management saying, oh, I will not advise you to start this project because compared to the capex we need to put in, the return on investment is too low, and I do not advise it. Or for you, it's really a management perspective.
So yeah, that's basically a very nice question, because I'm gonna talk about in cost estimation, because we're talking about costs. All of us, any of us, will have a bias, right? It's basically a phenomenon that has been studied by many researchers in cost engineering. It's basically we all have a bias to overestimate or underestimate a project according to our views. It's human nature, right? So this is what makes cost estimation very, very complicated, because as you said, yes, you have to stay impartial when you're working. That's why when you're working with a project team, it is good that we actually are involved at a later stage, so we're not involved in the project dynamics. We all know that project teams sometimes have a very difficult team dynamics, so we're not involved emotionally with that. So cost estimator, so you should keep your emotions to yourself, and then dive into the project, understand the scope of the project, also the difficulties of collaboration that might arise between the owner and the contractor, between the members of the team, between lack of resources. Understand that, and understand also, and then you will see it translated on the maturity of the deliverables. You have to understand that, and that comes with experience. Then you put the estimate together, you estimate your cost, and then you come up with a TPC, right? You come at the TPC by knowing what's not only the quantities and the technical deliverables, but also what's going on, how the project was executed. You give a number. Then this number that might not be so nice, it has to be presented to the management, right? A cost estimator by default, by definition, should not change the numbers to please management. They should present the numbers as they are, although you might know that you might disappoint them. And then if management wants to reduce the contingency, as I said, for example, let's take the contingency out. Yes, okay, we can, obviously we can, but this is management decision, it's not cost estimation. That's why it's one of the reasons why cost estimation or the project controls was created as a separate discipline, right? Because project managers are often under pressure from owners, from management, from business units to deliver a project at a certain budget. So basically they succumb to the pressure. That's why you have this separate person, a cost estimator, that gives the numbers and tells them, you know what, this is it. And then because what we see, it's very common in the chemicals industry, especially in the chemicals industry, most projects overrun their budgets. The reason is because a lot of the times we succumb to pressures from management or from owners to reduce the costs, and then at the end the costs are going to incur, and then you have to pay them at some point. So you see a lot of cost growth going on. Partially it's because of that. A lot of other reasons are behind it. But to answer your question, no, you should remain to your decision, but nevertheless take into account what management wants and change the estimate. You create another revision, and then you say, okay, after management decision, we reduce this or that for X reasons. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your answer. I think it's good to understand a bit better how your profession see itself within the project team. I'm wondering if there is any question in the attendance. I can see that there is a lot of thank you. Actually, we have maybe from Stephanie or Stephanie. Thank you very much for the impressive introduction to this kind of cost estimation. I have a question about the history of this of the cost estimation. It is arising due to the more detailed financial activities that the investors want to give the money exactly on point. In former days, investor had money or not. Am I right?
Okay. Cost estimation. I don't know, Stephanie. Can you tell me in which industry are you working?
Normally, I'm in yes, medicine technique, but not in process industries. So I'm a development department of normal machines, small machines.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I ask you because in order like to a little bit explain better. So the process industries and the chemicals industries, right? Cost estimation. What is the origins? A little bit of history. The origins are during the gold oil era in the 50s and 60s, where basically a lot of oil projects, a lot of oil petrochemical plants were being built. So we're talking about a very, very high amounts of capital investment, so billions, right? So you do this cost estimation in phases because you don't want to, investors, you don't want to give 1 billion in like one off. They wanted to have cost estimates separately in order to make sure that they have enough money to invest. If they found out at the end of phase one, for example, at the end of the design phase one, they didn't have enough budget, then they would go back and say, no, we stop the project. It's very common. So cost estimation is quite old, actually. It's quite old. Maybe I think the first factors were published in the 1930s, but the rise was in the 1960s. And the reason is because the chemicals industry, for production of chemicals, biochemicals, now we have the biochemicals, of production of petrochemicals or specialty chemicals or active pharmaceutical ingredients is very capital intensive, very capital intensive. So for example, to sell 1 kilo of chemical, 95% of it is capex basically. So cost estimation is very old. What is new is basically the need for benchmarking and the need for benchmarking from owner organizations to basically see how we performed in the past and how we're going to perform in the future. So I said that benchmarking is very much requested, not only from the chemicals industry, the chemical process industry or the petrochemicals, but also the pharmaceutical industries, which is not so capital intensive, but it's very much R&D intensive, as you know. Very much like years of clinical R&D trials and clinical trials, but nevertheless, because capital is becoming more scarce, and they want to control how capital is expended. So cost estimation is needed, but it's not so much developed as it is for the chemicals industry, which is very, very old. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I can see that there is other question. We had one from Xin. Thank you, Mirela, for the great presentation. My question is, what is your opinion about using generative AI in the cost estimation management?
Okay, so cost estimation. So AI is not new to cost estimation because obviously there are different ways to do cost estimation. You can actually take a spreadsheet and start putting quantities and costs and unit prices and start estimating or estimation method. But obviously we have software since many, many years ago. The first one, I think it was created in the beginning of the 90s from maybe it was Aspen and Incarus, right? In the process industry, Incarus was the machine. Now it's called Aspen Capital Cost Estimator, or you have different types of estimation software. So basically, the AI is there, starting with a basic AI. Nevertheless, all of these have to be fine-tuned according to an owner organization or according to the project specifics in order for the software to produce a reasonable estimate. So you're talking about generative AI. So coming to today, I think I think it's gonna be one part. The more intelligent the generative AI is gonna become, the more the work is gonna be automatic. I don't. Nevertheless, what cannot be replaced so much is basically, and generative AI can read the deliverables, okay? Can read technical deliverables or project deliverables, etc., etc. What they cannot replace is what we have in the project execution, the ambiance, the general environment in the project team ambiance, or the dynamics in the project execution. Which, as I said before, when you're working in a project, you understand how well the project has gone, how the team is collaborating, how well it's established, and how it's going to be how the team performed. Also, what we're lacking right now and what's not available in big owner organizations is basically the data, the actual data. I showed you the historical project database. We don't have the actuals, not so much of how much the actual factory had actually costed in the end. This is information that is being collected in some organizations faster than others. Some have already started in before, some have are starting now or will start in the future. But once this database internally is available to an owner organization, then adapted internal generative AI, such as ChatGPT, could help estimate projects faster, and the process can be automated. But we are yet in the process of collecting data, because generative AI has to use some data, some background information in order to predict the future, right? I hope this answered the question of what I think.
Yes, because I have such question, because I saw in the PMI International PMI webpage, there are already some report regarding the using the generative AI in the cost management, and there are some the efficiency, some estimation is regarding the efficiency. That is why I have such question and about your opinion, experience.
Yeah, we're still in the process of collecting data, and every owner, like what data are like ChatGPT, like the one that we all have access to. Basically, cost estimation is very very company specific. Like if I give you my metrics from my company, you should not use it for your own, because you have a different type of business. So each organization has to create their own database, and then generative AI can come and help out and make these things more automatic. But unfortunately, this is going to take a little bit more time. So we still have more time to do cost estimations one by one. To be honest, if this comes, I would be very, very happy. Like, it's going to save a lot of time. I would be really open to that. Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
We had as well a question from Christian. Does the total cost management framework, which seems to primarily focus on the industry like construction and manufacturing, also work for IT or software projects?
So yes, actually, the total cost management framework is basically talking about cost management in assets. It does not specify it has to be in the process industries or chemical industries or construction or infrastructure project. It's a general framework that can be applied to any type of industry. IT and software cost estimation, talking about cost estimation again, yes, there are some guidelines and there are some recommended practice available on AACE or some papers, and it's actually a very, very interesting topic. We talk about it, not so much as we talk about the process industries, but it's something currently under development in the AACE. The total cost management framework, though, can be applied to any type of industry because it's a set of processes, it's not industry specific. Yeah. So yeah, but software cost estimation is definitely a thing, and I've seen some technical papers available on the AACE, although I've never done it myself. Yeah.
And to go a bit forward a bit about this question, Mirela, I was wondering, for my specific industry, space industry, does AACE have a framework for space industry or?
Okay, that was I expected this question because it's very interesting. I think the space industry can rely on what's already published by the European Space Agency or NASA. I think when I was still doing my PhD so many years ago, I think you have come, I don't know if you have come across, but they are available, the NASA document or the documents from the GAO. I don't remember what the GAO from the United States, which basically explain how they do cost estimation for space missions. And they are very, very detailed and they're available to the public. So the AACE is not so much focused on space, on the space industry, but you already have available a lot of material, a lot of very, very easily, like in layman terms, explained cost estimation from NASA, and they're very, very good. So I will advise you to you can find them on the internet. They're publicly available.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
It's good to hear. Okay, great.
Yeah, they're very, very good. Very, very good. Yeah. So, somebody's asking software. So, Bahmal Akbari. Okay, thank you for the question. So, AACE, as I said, basically we are a community of professionals providing some recommended practices, some guidelines. So whatever we're saying about cost estimation or project controls is not rules that have to be applied. So we're not giving providing information with specific numbers or specific software or specific things to follow. It's basically practices, how we do things in order to give some food for thought for people or to give some solutions. So we do not recommend a specific software to work on cost estimation. I mentioned some now, but the AACE cannot undertake, does not sponsor a specific company, right? It does not promote one. Although a lot of cost estimation software companies are members of the AACE, and obviously what they found.
We lost again Mirela. Okay, maybe in the Oops. So maybe in the meantime, while Mirela is reconnecting, I can present you the feedback on the survey. So for us, it was as well a trial to present you a subject about cost estimation, because we know that it's a bit more technical. But I'm really pleased by your answer. I can see that we have a very good you really appreciated the speaker, and you have as well given a very good feedback on the subject. So I'm really pleased that that was interesting for you, and we will see if we plan maybe in the next month another webinar with Mirela about cost estimation, which is an important subject. I can see that Mirela is back in the meantime. I was just giving you the feedback about the survey, so I will let you continue to answer the question.
Yeah, so it was a cost estimation software. So AACE does not recommend any specific software. There are a lot available. Some of them are part of the AACE, so they do webinars and they present the software, they do demonstrations. Sometimes in the DACH section, we have already hosted some cost estimation software companies, and they do demos as well. But AACE does not, promote any specific cost estimation software.
So I think it was the last question. Before you leave all, I will maybe thank you warmly, Mirela. I think it was a very good webinar, and I'm really pleased that we have introduced a bit more technical subject, and I think the audience was really pleased with that. So I will just conclude quickly to give you some information about the PMI as well. So just to give you our next event, so we have already our next roundtable planned, so on the 27th of January. So you are really welcome to come over, as you can see. So sometimes to meet people in person, it come up with very good ideas, as we got with Mirela. So please feel free to join in the Hochschule Darmstadt. Then we will have our next event online with Dr. Aris Apostopoulos on the 29th of January. I think we need still to define the subjects, and we have already some events in February, but there is more to come. So the roundtable again on the 24th of February, and the 26th we have Arturas Kuliesas from Lithuania presenting I love risk. So another important topic in the toolbox of the project manager. And I will as well a bit promote our local group. We are 6 members currently. Thomas from Germany, Mohammed from Afghanistan, Maria from North Macedonia, Tufik from Lebanon, and Elena from North Macedonia as well, and myself, Florian from France. We have a LinkedIn page. You can reach out with our email address, and we are looking from new team member. Elena will a bit step down from our group. So if you are interested to join us, and if you are located next to Darmstadt, we will be really pleased to welcome you. We need as well some support to organize an on-site event, so it would be a very good help. So I will just stop the recording before the PDU code, and I will thank you all warmly. I don't know if Mirela or you want to say one last word before we close the session as well.
So thanks so much for everyone for attending the webinar. I'm very, very honored. So 40 people attended. So that's a very, very nice attendance. Thanks for joining at the beginning of the year. And I hope you got you could learn something today, the most important thing. And see you maybe next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody, and a good start of the year. I will stop the recording, and I will just let the PDU on the screen. Thank you very much.